Every coach is different and every coach has a different style and how connected they want to be with their team. But Reba, particularly during the lives, she was very involved, and I messaged her and let her know what had happened that night. Because she messaged me first and said, "Hey, great job, you crushed it." And I said, "I'm so glad you think so. Here's what was really happening." And she said, "Oh my God." And she actually shared a story about something similar that happened to her once on stage. And she and her boyfriend Rex spent the night brainstorming with me ways that I could overcome that. And she was just
Wow.
amazing in the process.
Yeah. Did you tell her like that you were counting the stripes on the guitar?
No, I haven't got to tell her that yet. I'll probably tell her at some point.
Because
But
she
yeah,
might be like,
it's
"Oh, that's good. I'll use that one."
right, right. But I mean, it's so funny now that you know that. Like, go back and watch that
Yeah,
performance, and
yeah.
you'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
But that was a scary moment.
Well, thanks for coming on the Johnny Rogers show. I just cut
Oh, it's
in
good to be
wherever.
here.
I appreciate
Yes.
you responding and then like sending me the information to want to come on. That means a lot to me because I'm just like an early podcaster. So
Yeah. Well, it's great to be here, man. I appreciate you reaching out.
yeah, huge fan of yours. Like my girlfriend and I, we watch The Voice religiously. And
Oh,
so this season I was just like, man, I have to reach out to Jordan to see if I can get her on the podcast. And like,
love it.
lucky enough that you came on here. You probably got a lot of work to do now that you're rolling, right? You've got this
Oh,
tour
yeah.
coming up.
We do. We got the Straight Shot Tour coming up 2024, and there's a lot of groundwork that we're laying right now for that. So I've been pretty up to my eyeballs in administrative stuff.
But I guess that's a good thing, right? Like it's better
Oh,
than no work at
yeah.
all. That's because I'm sure you've been doing
Yeah,
this for some time. So
I have.
like,
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time, and it's great to finally have so many people that want to come experience a show, and I'm going to give them one.
hell yeah. Now for people that are listening that haven't watched The Voice or don't know who you are, do you want to give like just a little bit of a background on like when you started, like how you got into music maybe, and just kind of what you're into now?
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Atoka, Oklahoma, which is on the Red River border of Texas. And I grew up in a musical family. My dad is a preacher, and my mama was the church pianist. And so I grew up around music, church music particularly. That's where I kind of got my start. And I got my first guitar at 12 years old, and that's when my life changed. I fell in love with the guitar. I literally, when I was a kid, I used to set my guitar in my bed with me at night. I slept with it. And anywhere we went, if we went to the Walmart or we went out to eat, I took my guitar with us in case the house burned down while we were gone. So that was
Thinking
my first
ahead.
love affair. Yeah. And I also my second love was writing. I was always journaling. I was on the word processor on our first computer, and I was always making up stories. And so I really had no other aspirations than to tell stories and make music. And I moved to Nashville 8 years ago, almost 9 years ago now. And before that, I was homeless, jobless, carless, didn't have anything to my name. I worked at a donut shop, working midnight to 10 a.m., saving pennies to be able to afford to move to Nashville. Finally got there,
Wow.
and it's just been a slow climb since.
Yeah, that's the life of an entertainer. Like I've been doing stand-up comedy for about 12, 13 years. And
Wow.
like came from a small town and then moved to I'm in Canada, so I moved to Toronto, which was like the
Yeah.
bigger, and then COVID happened, so I moved to Ottawa, just like a smaller city, but still kind of pushing away at
Yeah.
that like trying to find a fan base and trying to get a career. So I can
Yeah.
see it on these artists' face like yourself as well, on the show, getting that kind of validation. Like, what did that feel
Yes.
like to be a four-chair turn? Because I'm sure you've gotten lots of no's in your career, and to get
Mhm.
that validation of like, oh, the cream of the crop of the industry is saying
Mhm.
yes to me in this moment. Like, what did that feel like for you?
It was so validating, and I'll tell you why. Maybe the comedy industry is the same way, but the music industry will almost gaslight you into thinking you're crazy.
Yeah,
Like if you
same.
think that if you think you're good and you know that you've put the work in and I'm damn good at what I do, but everybody just keeps saying, I don't get it. I just don't think you've got it. And you hear that often enough, you kind of get gaslit and go, well, you know what? Maybe I'm the only one that thinks I'm good. And to show up on a platform where none of those judges or coaches, as we call them,
Hmm.
had any preconceived biases, because the music industry is so full of people that already have an agenda. Hey, I've got an artist I'm working with, and you might interfere with that. You might be a threat to what I'm doing. There's so much politics.
Yeah.
So to step on a platform where there was none of that bull, and all they were doing was listening to my voice and saying, "Can you move me with your voice?" And four of the biggest superstars in the world turned and said, "Yes, you can." I was like, You see, like finally, somebody's acknowledging I am good at what I do. Now
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
play
yeah.
ball." Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's somebody that said no to you that you're like, oh, I hope they were watching that.
Well, I'll tell you, some of the people that have said no to me are suddenly saying yes and texting me and going, "Hey, we should catch up."
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Or the
it's
LA thing, let's get
interesting.
lunch.
Yep, yep, I'm getting a lot of that, and folks don't realize I have a long memory.
As we
It's like, you
should,
know what?
right?
You weren't in my corner whenever I wasn't uh anything special, and now that I got
Hmm.
something going on, you want to get lunch.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how the tides turn.
And now I find like at least in comedy, I don't know if this is similar in music, but in comedy, it's a singular art form, right? Like it's just
Mhm.
one person on the stage. And
Right,
so it's very competitive in that sense of like
right.
everyone's trying to get that spot that you're in,
Yes,
basically. So
yes.
none of the, well, back when I started, nobody would really help you give you advice or anything. So now I'm
Right,
always looking at like the younger people that I see something in. And even though I'm not, fully pro, made it, whatever, I still try to help those people because I know how
well,
much that means. Did,
yes.
did anyone give you like a piece of advice or some motivation that kind of helped you keep going before you were even on The Voice?
Yeah, I would say that the music industry is not like that. At least in Nashville, sure, you do get some people that are easily threatened and jealous and they don't want to help you, but my experience in Nashville has been very overall supportive, at least of people in my class, right? My
Hmm.
peer group. We're very supportive of each other. We listen to each other's songs. We say, "Hey, you know what? This could be better." And so, yeah, I've had lots of people over the years that have encouraged me and said, "Hey, you know what? That song's really good. I want you to revisit that second verse. I think you can beat your second verse." And yeah, I'm really thankful for the people that have stuck with me and have said, "You know what? You're really good. Keep working." And they've pushed
Hmm.
me and they challenged me. So yeah, I am thankful for that.
That's good. That's good to hear that there is like a little
Yeah,
bit more of like people helping each other in that industry.
it
Maybe I got
is.
to switch to me. No, I'm just kidding. Like maybe I'll
Well,
switch to music.
well, what's
It's
funny
not
is I
that
thought
easy.
about switching to comedy.
You
So,
could, you could easily
yeah,
step into comedy at any point you wanted to, because that's the other thing too, is you have this just natural off the cuff ability to be funny in the moment and it doesn't feel forced, which I think is
it's not.
really helpful for performers, like musical
I would
performers as
almost
well.
call it a disorder. Stuff flies out of my mouth before I even know it's coming, and then I'm like, "Well, shit."
Yeah,
Like,
why filter the fun?
why filter the fun? I need a T-shirt that says
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Take
Yeah,
it. What did it
I
feel
come.
like? Oh, sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I come from the South, and I don't know what it's like in Canada, but kids down here, we still get whippings, and I used to get whippings every day from my mouth, and now it makes me a full-time living.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I always tell that to my dad too, because my dad would get so mad if I was even
Yep,
saying hell, he would be like, eh.
yep,
Like he would get very upset. Like we don't talk like that. And then now I do comedy
yeah.
where all I do is swear and curse on stage, and people pay me
Listen, I
for
tell you.
it.
People may argue with you, but swearing makes everything funnier.
Yeah, it really does.
It
It
really does.
it really emphasizes the moment.
It does. It gets the point across.
Yeah, this is probably one of the only shows that you could swear on if you felt like it as well. I'm not airing
Okay,
this
good to
on
know.
TV just in case, so you're not holding back. Some people
Okay,
are
good
like,
to know.
can I do this on here?
Yeah. I
um,
try I try not to on any public platform, but if you get me by myself, it's a different story.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now what was it like to be on like the Team Reba, like the first, like her first team? That's huge for the show, right? Just in terms of history and legacy of the show. What did that feel like, and what was the experience like working with Reba?
Well, first of all, let me tell you the backstory to how this all happened and how freaky it is. I had been saying for about the last couple years, like I'm from the same town as Reba. I don't know if you know
Mm,
that, but that's why I talk the same kind of funny she does. We talk funny down here in Oklahoma. And I kept saying, if Reba just knew that I was on the planet, I think my life would change. I think she would get it. I think she would support me. And I just have no idea how to let Reba know that I
Hmm.
exist.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, this time last year, I got an Instagram DM from a producer from The Voice, and they said, "Hi, I'm so and so. I'm a producer from The Voice. Watch some of your videos. I think you would be a great candidate to audition for season 24." And at first, I thought it was a scam.
Yeah, it
I was
sounds
like,
like a
"There's no way
scam,
that's
right? A thing out of nowhere.
it does." And so I kid you not, I almost deleted that message.
Oh,
But then
wow.
I was like, I came very close to going, and just deleting it. But something in me said, do a little digging. And so I went and I dug around on that person that messaged me. And I was like, they seem legit. So I reached back out and she said, hey, send us, a few videos of you singing and playing, and we'll go from there. Next thing I know, I'm selecting my blind audition song, which I chose Fancy as my audition song, which is a Reba McEntire song.
Hmm.
Now, here's the kicker. When I chose that song, they had not yet announced that Reba was going to be a coach. So I picked Fancy before I even knew that she was in the picture,
Wow. Wow, you
just because I
manifested
love
that.
that. I did, and I just love that song, and I
Hmm.
that song is part of my body. I love that song. And so 2 weeks after I picked my blind audition song, they announced Reba's going to be the replacement for Blake, and I just said, "Are you kidding me?" And I was just in shock. And next thing I know, I'm on a plane to Los Angeles, and I'm singing Fancy in front of the Queen herself, going, "This is it. This is the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
She knows I'm on the planet now." And it was just a matter of waiting for her to turn that chair, and of course she did. And this show has allowed me to develop a relationship with her, and she was everything that you would hope she would be.
Hmm.
She was kind, she was generous with her time, she was generous with her advice. She gave us on her team a personal way to contact her and keep in touch with her throughout the show if we needed help with something. And I battled stage fright on the show, and she coached me through stage fright. And so, and on the first ever Team Reba, it was great for the show. It was an amazing milestone for the show, but it was also a milestone for me.
Yeah. And I think that's what's most important as well, right? That
Yeah,
you're getting to fulfill that kind of goal in your and it's and again more validation. Okay, I'm on the
of
right path. I'm
course.
doing the right thing.
Yeah,
It's what like my mom loves
yeah.
Reba, and I remember
Don't we all?
the first time I learned about Reba when I was a kid, I didn't even know that she was a singer. I only knew
Yeah,
Reba from her TV show. And I was like, this
yeah,
lady's
yeah.
hilarious. Like just such a
It
funny
is.
actor as well. So to be coached
Yeah,
by someone who can, navigate so many realms of the entertainment
yeah,
industry and just do it so well, like it's got to be
yeah.
unreal.
Absolutely. And that's something that she told me, whenever I was asking her, how does a woman what does a woman have to do to have longevity in this industry? And one of the things that she told me that has always stuck with me is stay curious. Don't pigeonhole yourself to just music. Try new opportunities, try new songs, try new genres. And that's something that she has done in acting and movies is stay curious. Ask yourself, well, could I do that? And try it. Don't be afraid to fail and look stupid. And I experienced that even on the show.
Is there something beyond music that you're interested in that you would take that leap, or is it kind of like I'll just let it come when it comes?
I would love to do a sitcom. I would love to write comedy. I would love to even get into a little bit of the comedy world. I love to make people laugh, and I'm a storyteller, and I do it well. Matter of fact, half of my concerts are kind of a stand-up act anyway. So yeah, I would love to get into acting and sitcom and comedy.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah,
Now, your word for the episode was grit. That's what
yes.
Nicole was telling me. What was it about the word grit that like stood out to you that you wanted to make that the word?
Yeah, I think if there's any word that would encompass my life and the philosophy that I carry, it's grit. And I am Chickasaw Native American, and I have ancestors that I come from that were on the Trail of Tears to Oklahoma. And that was as you know, American history, a very brutal and tragic event in history where the Native Americans were forced out of their land and, had to walk for miles and miles, hundreds of thousands of miles, and many of them died on that trail. And I have ancestors that traveled that trail, and so it gives me chills sometimes to think, if you were to cut my finger and you see that blood, that same blood, that same DNA, that's history. That's American
Hmm.
history right there in
Yeah.
my veins. And I come from a people that are survivors. They are um just down to earth, gritty people. And I've got a fire in my bones, man. I am somebody, I'm sassy. I will fight you to the death if I have to.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a force to be reckoned with. I'm 4'11". But that tenacity has carried me through a divorce. It's carried me through abuse. It's carried me through some I mean, I went to the jungle in 2014 where it was ISIS occupied territory, and I went and did
What?
humanitarian work with the fear of getting my head cut off. It's I've been some crazy places.
We gotta go
But
back to that. Finish your sentence, but we gotta go back to that.
so grit, yeah,
Yeah.
basically I don't back down from nothing.
Wow. I love that. Now,
Yeah.
how did you end up in the jungle? Please. What led you to that? What was like, I'm gonna go do this humanitarian work?
Well, there was an open door. And kind of going back to, what Reba said, stay curious. There was somebody that I met. I was married at the time, and somebody from the Philippines had come and visited my dad. My dad's a preacher, and he said, "Hey, we've got a need for some volunteers down here in the Philippines. We need some help fundraising and getting funds for our church. We've just had an earthquake here, and we're trying to help people." And so me and my husband said, "We'll go." And so we sold everything we had. We sold two paid
Wow.
off cars. We sold every bit of our furniture to be able to afford to go. And we got on a plane and we went to the jungle. And it was dangerous because at that time, the island that we went to was ISIS occupied. And it was very dangerous to be a white Christian person down there. They were, matter of fact, 8 months after we came home, from the very village that we were in, ISIS had rounded up a bunch of people like us, put them in a bus, and lit it on fire.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so, I mean, it was a very tragic, dangerous time to be down there, and came back, with a little bit of PTSD. We had some issues to work through after being out there, and um, but it was something that we just felt like, hey, there's an open door. We might could help some people. Let's go do it, and we did.
Yeah, that is the most Christian thing that you could possibly do. I'm gonna
Yeah,
uproot my life to go help somebody over there
yeah,
just because they need the help. And I
yeah,
think, danger aside, obviously, but like I
mhm,
think we need more of that compassion now
yeah,
just in society. So
yeah. I
it's
agree.
refreshing when you hear that there are people like yourself out there that will do that work.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it starts with a small act, and that's something that I try to encourage in my community and in my fan base on my social media is spread kindness. I try to keep my comment section encouraging, we don't tolerate trolls, and that's just a small way to start is just to create a community within your fan base that, hey, we are
Hmm.
kind people here, and it goes a long way.
Yeah, yeah. I love that because
Yeah,
you're at the perfect point now where as long as you curate your comments, you
mm-hmm.
can create that
Yeah,
fan base that it's like they feel safe at your concerts. They
yes,
feel like they're gonna
yes,
have a good time. It's the
that's right.
experience that you're
Yeah,
selling, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, your fans have dubbed you the woman in black. Does your attire hold any type of like special meaning for you, or is it like a reflection of your artistic persona? Like,
Mm.
where did that come from?
Sure. I in my early 20s, I had a man in my life who was very I'll just say unkind to me. It was a very toxic relationship, and he had my self-esteem absolutely buried. I would hang my head when I walked. I looked at my feet when I walked. I was a very defeated woman in my early 20s. And there was a day, and I can remember it very clearly, where something in me just changed, and I went and sought him out. I knew where he was, and I drove to where he was. I saw his truck in the parking lot. I was scared to death of him. And like every time I would see his truck, I would have almost a panic attack. But I
Mm,
went inside, sought him out, and I marched up to him and I said, "You have no right to treat me the way you treat me, to talk to me the way you talk to me, and you will never do this to me again." And when I did that, that was the day that the woman in black was born. There was a woman in me that I realized I needed to get to know a lot better.
Mm,
And the way that I dress, the way that I present myself on stage, that is my way of physically stepping into her space and to demonstrate to the world this is the woman inside.
yeah.
She's she's the biggest, baddest, meanest version of herself on stage. It's the drama, it's the character, it's that's why I dress like I dress.
I love that because it gives you the creative license
Mhm.
to just take it to the limit, you know?
Absolutely. And some people don't get it. I've gotten a lot of flack for how I dress. I got people pissed off that I wear shades and a hat and she's like, "Well, she looks like a psycho country version of Michael Jackson." I don't
Whatever.
care. I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
beautiful.
That's your problem.
It is your
Yeah.
problem because you know what? You're probably, 200 pounds overweight sitting in your sweatpants and eating Cheetos, and I don't really care what you got to say.
I wonder how many people gave Nelly flack when he put the Band-Aid on his face. You know what
Hmm.
I mean?
Yep.
Like, let
I
art
mean, this
we're,
guy
artists are
behind that.
weirdos. Like, let us be
Yeah.
weirdos. Leave us alone.
That's right. I mean, that's the thing. It's theater, even
Yeah.
concerts. It's theater, it's
Yeah. Of
drama. That's the one place you get to be outrageous. And if you
course.
can't enjoy that, step off.
You're not going to come up there with your customer service voice and be like, "Hi, thank you all for coming." The one you use
No.
on the phone when
No.
you need to change your internet bill or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
some people don't get it, but there's a lot of people that do, and those are my
Yeah,
people.
I get it loud and clear.
Yep.
Can you share like a memorable or unexpected moment that you had while you were performing? I find those stories to be like so fun.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways I could take that, but I'll tell you one behind the scenes thing that happened that nobody knows happened. It was the first performance of the lives on The Voice. I sang "Stranger in My House" by Ronnie Millsap, and that whole day leading up to the performance, I was so calm, I was so at peace, and I thought, oh man, you know what? I've got this. I'm not even nervous. And whenever I stepped onto that stage, strapped on my guitar, stepped up to the microphone, that drummer counted that song off, and we hit the first chord. Terror, sheer terror, came head to toe across my body. My hands and my arms went completely numb. My
Wow.
legs went light as a feather, and I was about to black out. And all the while, the intro is counting off. I'm stepping up. I start singing, but my body is trying to pass out to the point where I was literally, as I'm performing, I'm thinking, okay, I'm about to go. They're going to have to stop the show. They're going to have to stop the live show. It's going to be a chaotic thing. And I'm coaching myself in the back of my head, going, okay, when you pass out, which you're about to do, try to hit your knees and fall backwards. Don't face plant. I'm
Yeah.
going through this in this sheer panic attack.
Oh,
And I'm just fighting for my life for the first half of that song. And I'm like, I've just got to get through it. I cannot pass out on live TV. And that's where that grit, I just fought it with my whole body. Like, you will not pass out right now. I know you're terrified, but you will not. And here's the thing here, if you go back and watch the YouTube video of that
yeah, yeah.
performance, the people that know me have told me that they were watching that in real time going, something's
Mm.
wrong with her. And we get to the guitar solo during that song, and I turn and I look at the guitar player that's on stage with me, and he's got this bright yellow guitar. And I did what's called like a grounding exercise, which is something to try to bring you back into the present, back into
Mm.
your body.
Hmm.
I started looking at his yellow guitar and it had like tiger stripes on it. And while I'm playing this guitar solo, I'm counting the stripes on his guitar to bring myself back into the moment. And at that point,
Wow.
the panic leaves me. And in the second half of that song, if you go back and watch the video, you can tell the gear has shifted and I freaking kill the last half of that song. But that was one of the most terrifying experiences. And that's when I had to reach out to Reba and go, for the first time in my life, I'm dealing with stage fright. Help. And she
Yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah. Wow. So she came through
Yeah.
and they didn't even like I love that they don't even like that must have just been a private message back and forth because some of
It
the
was.
advice that she's giving it's like very like studio
Mhm.
like the cameras are in there
Yeah.
and they're showing that
Yeah.
they're coaching as well but it extends far beyond just those TV moments, right?
It does. Every coach is different and every coach has a different style and how connected they want to be with their team. But Reba, particularly during the lives, she was very involved and I messaged her and let her know what had happened that night. because she messaged me first and said, "Hey, great job, you crushed it." And I said, "I'm so glad you think so. Here's what was really happening." And she said, "Oh my God." And she actually shared a story about something similar that happened to her once on stage. And she and her boyfriend Rex spent the night brainstorming with me ways that I could overcome that. And she was just
Wow.
amazing in the process.
Yeah. Did you tell her like that you were counting the stripes on the guitar?
No, I haven't got to tell her that yet. I'll probably tell her at some point.
Because
But
she
yeah,
might be like,
it's
"Oh, that's good. I'll use that one."
right, right. But I mean, it's so funny now that you know that. Like, go back and watch that
Yeah,
performance, and
yeah.
you'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
But that was a scary moment.
Yeah, I gotta rewatch that for sure.
Yeah.
Oh man. There's a question that I always love asking people is if you could make a phone call to 15-year-old Jordan. So putting yourself thinking about who you were and what you were doing at 15 years old, and you get on the phone and you get to talk to that 15-year-old version of you who's looking advice from this older version, more established version of herself, knowing it's not going to affect your current timeline. So you can't be
Yeah.
like, the lottery numbers are zero for,
Yeah.
invest in
Yeah.
Bitcoin. So what
Yeah.
would you say?
Well, I would say practice your guitar scales more.
Okay.
I would say learn standard tuning. Um, I would also say you're on the right track. Like you're absolutely on the right track. I would have turned myself on to Merle Haggard sooner. I would have turned myself on to Dolly Parton and Loretta Lynn sooner than I found her. And keep writing what you know, keep expressing yourself, learn how to use a curling iron, ask for help. Like somebody just
Nice.
if you could see 15-year-old me would know I needed somebody in my life to tell me how to use a curling iron. That I would have called and said, "Here's how you do it."
I love the advice, the range of advice that I get from these questions. Like it
Yeah.
goes from that to like, my girlfriend, I had it on the podcast and she was like, yellow is not your color. And
Yep,
that was
yep.
her advice.
No kidding. He's
And I was
like,
like, that's perfect. Love that.
yep.
Yeah. Now, you said you grew up in the Texoma area. Is that how you
Yes,
pronounce
grew
it?
up in the Texas. Yeah,
What?
Texas, Oklahoma. That's what we call it, Texoma.
Oh, okay, okay, got it. Were there, I know you've mentioned some like Reba and you've mentioned that you were in the church, but were there any other like specific musical influences that you feel like kind of shaped your sound?
Absolutely. So, as a guitarist, I play in a tuning that's called the Dad tuning. It's an open tuning and it's very signature to my sound. If you listen to my recordings, you can pick out the guitar right away because it's just very distinct. And I
Mm,
learned that by growing up listening to an artist named Stephen Curtis Chapman. And
okay.
he's a Christian recording artist, but he used that tuning and his guitar sound was very iconic. And just because I grew up learning to play his records, that filtered into how I write and how I record. And so I would say he was probably my most influential instrumental, musician.
Mm. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
the beautiful thing about being an artist too is you can pick those like I didn't even think of that as like a specific guitar tuning that would make it
Yeah.
stand out a little bit more. Yeah, I
It
love
does.
that.
It's just different phrasings. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, is there anything that you do like you've got this 2024 straight shot tour that's about to kick off in January? Before these like big shows, do you have like rituals or something that you do before the show? Like I gotta eat at this place and I gotta wear
Mhm.
these type of socks. You know what I mean?
Right, right. I have affirmations that I listen to in my earbuds. I do that to help my anxiety stay down because I have two anxiety disorders. So something that I do before a show is to try to get my body in as peaceful of a place as I can so that whenever the adrenaline hits, I'm not already amped up to hear whenever it hits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do listen to affirmations and just things that tell me, hey, you're great at what you do. You can do anything, right? Um, and on top of that, I love tropical pineapple Red Bull. I gotta have that at every show.
That's on the rider. That's great.
Yep, it
Tropic.
is. It's on the
I've
rider.
never even heard of that.
Oh,
Tropical.
I'm telling if you have not had a Red Bull in the little yellow can, You haven't lived. Got to have one.
Oh, okay. It's the
They're
yellow
so good.
cans.
Yeah, yellow
Yeah,
can.
I've been a sucker. I've been sticking with the originals this whole
Oh,
time.
that tastes like this. Don't drink that.
That tastes like this.
Here's what you do. Here's what you
Yeah.
do.
Okay.
You get you a little yellow can of Red Bull, stick that in
Uh-huh.
a glass over ice, put a little splash of tequila, squeeze a lime in it. Done.
Oh,
Done.
that sounds great. I
It's
might go make
fantastic.
one of those right after this show.
Oh my gosh, you'll thank me.
Yeah. I'll be messaging you right after, like, it's the greatest drink I've ever had.
You won't be disappointed.
Yeah. No, there was one thing that like really stood out to me when I was doing my research is you were on the Tamron Hall show and you were discussing, women's intuition and your brush with an abduction. Like what? Can
Yeah.
you please tell us like you've been to the jungle, you've been on The Voice, but you've also had a brush with abduction. What was that? What happened there?
Well, I'm real little. I'm 4'11". I'm easily kidnappable. And apparently, there was a guy who was kind of hard up and couldn't get a girlfriend, and so he thought he'd try to take me. Um,
Jesus.
no, in all seriousness, I was on a walk on an isolated road and had a car stop, and a man was just like stopped right in front of me and waiting for me to walk past his driver's side door. And my women's intuition just shot up immediately and said, "Uh-oh, we're in trouble here."
Hmm.
And so I stood my ground. I had my car keys in my hand, balled them up in my fist, and I just kind of looked him in the rearview mirror, like, look around and find out, that kind of thing. And he took off, and I called my best friend and I said, "Hey, I'm in trouble. I'm at such and such road. I need you to come get me ASAP." And the whole time that I'm standing here waiting on my friend to come get me, I've got this gut feeling that that car ain't gone, that he was going to turn around and he was coming for me. I just had that
Wow.
feeling that that's what was happening. And
Yeah.
I was on the phone with my friend, and you need to get here. And he ran out of the house, didn't even put shoes on. He ran into his truck barefoot and barreled his way toward me. He got to me first. I climbed in his truck and we took off. And about the time we're taking off, sure enough, we looked behind us and that car had come back, parked exactly where I was standing, and he got out and he was looking for me.
Wow.
And so yeah, I very close to having a hand-to-hand combat for my life.
That is wild, Jordan.
Yeah, and that's the short version of that story. The long version is on my TikTok. You can find it, but it was wild.
Yeah, I'll make sure to share all your social media and stuff at the end of this
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well,
yeah,
so
for sure.
people can go check that out. Now, with like so many accolades and accomplishments that you're going through right now, like I feel like you're in the middle of it right now. You've just
Yeah,
like been on The Voice, and now you're kicking off this tour.
yeah.
What would you say has been like the highlight for you so far on this kind of rise?
For me, it's been getting to hear stories from fans. I mean, this show has put a spotlight on my art, and I've gotten an influx of fans. I'm growing right now by about 1,000 fans a day, which is just wild.
Hmm.
And because of that, almost overnight, um, I hate the word fame, but there's no other word for it. I've gotten to run into so many people now and hear so many stories about how my music has touched people. I just met a woman today who is in recovery from alcoholism, and one of one of my songs, she listens to it every day to set herself on the right path and the right mindset to stay sober. So I think that's been the coolest thing, is that my art is reaching so many people and having such a broad impact.
Yeah, I love that because music can be so powerful in that way. And like as an artist, you're writing from your own point of view and like what
Right.
expressing yourself kind of. And it's almost it can be like affirmations in a sense too, where I'm trying to manifest certain things, whatever the storytelling is, but
Sure.
you rarely think about how someone else is going to perceive that.
Right.
Like I love that. Like just
Well,
really,
songs can kind of be like ink blotches, like you used to go see the old psychiatrist and they say, look at this ink blotch. What do you see? And every person's
yeah,
going to see something different, right? And
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
beautiful thing about art, is that you can write it from your place and they hear it, and they hear it in a totally different way. And that is the beauty and the just the magic of being an artist.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, I'm not going to take up
Hmm.
too much of your time. I want to share the Instagram so people can go follow. It's at the Jordan Rayner on Instagram, at the Jordan Rayner on TikTok,
Yeah,
and at Jordan Rayner on YouTube. Always subscribe to that
yeah,
YouTube page. And then now if you go to jordanrainerofficial.com to see all of your upcoming tour dates. This will come
Yeah.
out on January 5th. I always do a pre-record, but it'll come out just in time for everybody to go check out all of these places that you're going.
Beautiful. I love it.
You're going all over the place.
I am hitting
What are
9 states.
you which one of these shows are you most excited for? Is there one on there where you're like, "Oh, I can't wait to get on that stage."
Well, I'm particularly excited about the one in Grant, Oklahoma. It's the Choctaw Casino, and I've always wanted to play one of the big Oklahoma casinos, and we are selling tickets like crazy to that. It's going to be packed, and I've got a team member of mine who is a big fan of the movie Elizabethtown. I've
Okay.
never seen, but we're going to Elizabethtown, North Carolina, and she is giddy to go see that place because she's a fan of the movie. So
That's
we got lots of
great.
fun we're going to be hitting.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, make sure
Yeah,
you like have fun in these places and not just
yes,
make it just about the show, right? Like you're also getting the
absolutely.
chance to travel and do all these fun
Yeah,
things. So really take in what that place has to offer.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, I appreciate you making the time again to come on and chat with me, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Well, Johnny, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. You're really good at your job.
Oh, thank
Stay
you.
with it. You've got a really great personality. You got a good instinct for this. Stick with it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I hope you have a great rest
Yeah,
of your
you're
night too.
you too, man. Have a great
All
night.
right, take care. You've been listening to The Johnny Rogers Show. New episodes air every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.